Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so if you guys watch me enough, you know there's certain times in the day, some days where I'm in between waiting for the meal to prepare. So I'll make content that'll last the duration of the time it takes for the meal to be made. Then I'll have something to listen to or watch by the end of it. So a lot of times I make this content for my very own self as well as you guys, believe it or not. And this is one of those. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I never do. No script. I don't even have a topic. This is completely a freestyle. But I think listening to the Kaminsky brothers talking a little bit about the Lakers just now, listening to their yesterday's podcast, it just reminded me of a few things that were really cool from yesterday's win against the Memphis Grizzlies. Since we haven't had too many big wins like that this season, I thought it would be something that it's worth talking about and celebrating some more of how well we played and celebrating the players, learning on the fly about what strategies they can start using to give themselves the best opportunity to close games since we've been losing. And I like what our team did. I like what we did. I recognize that they hear us talking about their IQ. They hear us because today Trevor Lane came out with a short today mentioning something that was very, very important, which was at the end of the play, down the stretch, when Dennis Schroeder was able to get that steal. Before the play was inbounded, the Lakers made sure they spoke to each and every referee to let them know that our intention was to try to get the steal first and not foul. Because a lot of times referees will anticipate you calling the foul, wanting a foul there, and they'll just anticipate and call it. So it is incumbent upon teams to let them know what your intentions are if you don't want them to anticipate a foul automatically, because if they think you're going for the steal and they don't call the foul, you're going to be mad. So the best thing to do is to let them in on what it is your intentions are in that situation. So the fact the Lakers did that was them letting us know that they are working on things that we've been talking about in regards to just upping our basketball IQ and making sure that we communicate to everybody what we need to do and make sure that we cross all of our T's and dot all of our I's. So I thought that was necessary information. It helps us understand that they're listening to us. It helps us understand that they recognize that there's some things they need to work on in that specific regard. Until we get that under control, it's going to be a lot of bad chatter. So I appreciate that being released to us. And I want to see them continue to do stuff like that helps us. I also like the idea that we did some fouling down the stretch, intentional fouling to subpar free throw shooters. I thought that gave us an opportunity to limit our defensive possessions. And that's not going to work every night. But if you have a guy who's down there shooting 30% like Steven Adams, and we got the situation we had going on, I can assure you we don't win if we continue to allow them to play offense the way they were. The way we were giving up offensive rebounds, stuff like that, we had absolutely no chance. So I thought that was really key for our coaching staff to say, yeah, let's just foul this guy, see if we can work something out in that way, get them out of their rhythm. And you got to give the Lakers credit. You got to give them a lot of credit because at the end of the day, they were at a disadvantage down there with the roster. Our coach had limited options with our injury issues on top of it. And I thought the guys that he went to, for the most part, were at a disadvantage yesterday. Like a real legitimate disadvantage that can make a lot of guys hang their head and not want to play hard, not want to do some of the little things that our team did. They didn't let being at that size disadvantage, they didn't let any of that deter them from what it is that ultimately they could control, which was hitting their free throws and playing hard, pushing where you could, and making sure you just did the little things right. And I just really thought that the Lakers, if they had just a little more help out there, wouldn't have had as close of a game as bad as the Memphis Grizzlies shot the ball. They shot it terribly. Truth be told, the Memphis Grizzlies probably won't have another game where they shoot that bad, probably again. And we are very fortunate that was the case, especially given the fact that we're getting so many boards off misses. So I thought Russell Westbrook did a fantastic job of rebounding the ball off of 3-point shots, finding himself in the right position to rebound elbow misses. And see, that's something that we talk about a lot on this channel. It's not that I'm so keen on so many different things that the Lakers need to do, but it's one of the things that I heard Austin mention, so it's something I mention often. And since he's mentioned it, I've been paying attention to it, and I think that some players handle that a little better than others. So we just need to keep that as an emphasis, since so many teams shoot threes against us, and we rebound the ball, on average, not as good as we'd like to. I think that could help us if we just try to position ourselves a bit better to follow Russell's lead and find ourselves around the elbow positioning when people are shooting threes. So, yeah, I wish there were other pointers that I could give us that would help with that, but I'm not a basketball mind like that. I just listen to what others say and repeat it, God's honest truth. But what I can say is I love what the Lakers are doing in terms of just putting themselves in a position to do things differently. We've been losing so many close games that I just wanted to see something different, a strategy that just did not mirror some of the stuff that we've tried. And, I know Coach Darvin Ham likes to try different rotations, but I just find myself breaking down those rotations from my best understanding and not really finding a whole lot of success with some of them at all. It's just like, if you're going to put guys on the floor, you got to make sure it plays to their strengths, not their weaknesses. And Dennis Schroeder, I thought he really helped us in this game. But a lot of times I don't like how he's positioned on the floor. We usually have him playing a 2. We usually have him in 3-guard lineups. It's just rare when I see him in a position to succeed based on what it is I think he's good at and what it is I don't think he's all that great at. I think of him as a lead point guard who can score. So if you put him on the floor with traditional size players, he's gonna be a good scoring point guard for you. You put him at the 2, you better have the size to make sense. You put him at the 3, and it's not gonna work. So these are the type of things I just see our coach tries, and it's like, man, Dennis is the guy that's left kind of in a position to look the weakest out there a lot of times because he's not the defensive player that Patrick Beverley is. You know what I mean? He does tend to go in and out of offensive efficiency. So when he's not making shots, and he's a defensive liability. So it's one of those situations where he's hurting you on both sides of the floor. With Patrick, at least on the there's nothing to miss on the defensive side. Either you're handling your business and reading things properly and putting in the effort, or you're not. So it's more to control, you know what I mean, and his strength of the situation, if that makes any sense. He's a smaller player. His strength is something that he can do more of with consistency than Dennis Schroeder in them situations. So you leave Dennis out there to maybe miss a couple shots. Next thing you know, guys are pushing him around the defensive end. He can't rebound over these dudes because he's undersized. You know what I mean? So it just leaves him to be the guy that's left looking the worst. But it's not because he's doing anything necessarily wrong at all. He's being himself, just not in a good lineup. So these are the type of things I want us to just not do. Sometimes we put Russell Westbrook in lineups like that. Russell's not a shooter, and it's really not helpful to have him on situations where everybody else can't defend because he's not a natural defender himself. So even if you have Patrick Beverley on the floor as a defensive player, if he's on the floor with Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook, then how much defense are any of them playing altogether when they're going up against people twice their size? So these are the things that I just think leave us at so much of a disadvantage all game long when it's done that way, I think Dallas on Christmas was the best example of just how horrible it can be this season. And then every game last year is an example of it. You just don't win basketball games when you don't have any rim protection or rebounding or size. It's just one of those things where if the size ain't there, you're not going to help those aspects. And then the fouling, as we've talked about plenty, you're going to foul. So you just don't want to find yourself in that space. Play big, and you'll feel a lot better about what you're doing, I think, for the most part, especially if you can't shoot. So, these are things we've talked about a million times. I don't think if you follow me, this is anything new. I think the Lakers, at the end of the day, yesterday, we were happy that we had so much to be, so much to celebrate. I think the atmosphere was electrifying. They had a lot of stars in the building. And of course, the situation with Uncle Shea, which to me was just a lot of, to me, to be honest with you, Memphis, the way they do things in their building, that's like normal. They chirp and they just got a style going on down there. It's just a whole vibe happening. It's not just on the court, it's off the court with just everything going on in the city. So when they come to other places, they bring in that with them. It's an energy that they're bringing with them at all times in 2023. It's just a vibrant time around that city. So for me, it was like, we're a different culture here in LA. We have a different vibe. If you do that in his building, it's probably not going to be as big of a thing. They chirp and then they sit back down. You know what I mean? Here it's like, oh my God, you made the biggest. Oh, we got into it with Shea Shaw. So I just think it was an overall culture shock for the Lakers to have a moment like that in our building. It doesn't happen very often. You know what I mean? Not with stars, not stuff like that. So if you see a confrontation in LA, it's usually between the players and other players. It ain't never nothing like this. So I just thought that was a big thing. And then I think there's a big misconception going on in Lakerland that Shannon Sharpe is a Laker fan. He ain't. He's a Bron fan, y'all. He don't like the Lakers at all. And I ain't forgot that. He's a Celtics fan, as a matter of fact. And I ain't going to let any else forget that. So we can sit up here and rah-rah with Shannon Sharpe, but understand he was going for Bird back in the day. And he let everybody know it. He wanted LeBron to go to Philly, too. He didn't want him to come to the Lakers. I ain't forgot none of that. All of that is fresh in my mind. So he's going to follow LeBron wherever he goes, including to the Celtics. And y'all going to be hurt thinking he's rolling with y'all. He ain't. But while LeBron's in the jersey, he's rolling with Bron, and we rolling with that. So it is what it is. But, you know, he's like one of them Bron fans. They nomads, man. Ain't none of them really here for you, Lakers Nation. Don't get it twisted. Shea is not one of us. He's one of Bron's, and that's important. So it is what it is, man. I enjoyed the exchange, though. I definitely enjoyed the fact that they were able to piece it up at the end, most importantly. Steven Adams, you know, he came to the defense of his teammates' pops. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. You know, as long as you're not leaving the bench to do so, it seemed like nothing wrong with it. I just don't want to see any violence, you know what I mean, amongst players and fans of any sort. You know, no more malice of the palace stuff. I don't think that's good for the game. I don't think it's good for anything. So I'm glad it didn't end up like that. And plus, you know, as a black dude, to be honest with you, you want to see you guys, your people, not show up and show out in a bad way. You know what I mean? You don't want the father of one of the great players in the league right now and one of the great Hall of Fame football players throwing hands in a Laker game. That's just the worst example. You know what I mean? It really is. It's not the greatest thing. So for them to have pieced it up, I think it meant a lot to the people here. So that's something else I wanted to say. You know what I mean? But I think that it's ultimately one of those things where as long as Shannon Sharpe, as long as LeBron's on the Lakers, Shannon's going to be Team LA all day, purple and gold, ride for us for sure. It's going to be like that. I just think that I've been seeing the comment sections, yay, Uncle Shay's a Laker fan. He's a real one. I'm like, no, he ain't, bro. He ain't. Not at all. That is a Celtics fan who's rolling with LeBron in 2023 who happens to be rolling with the Lakers. And so that's what that actually is. Because, see, it's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. They rolling with LeBron right now because he's a Laker. As soon as he puts on a different jersey or retires, they're going to be hating us. They're going to be the same people booing us, hissing us, talking bad about whoever's wearing our uniform later. I know y'all watching me now. I already know you ain't with us. I'm just letting you know that now. I already know. The bandwagon has been open for about 5 years now, and it's probably going to close on a lot of them when he leaves. So that's just something I know. Nevertheless, the Laker fans are still here. We know what our franchise is really about. This thing has been going on longer than Bron, longer than Kobe, longer than Magic. So, and it's going to be going on longer than this. So we're going to keep it pushing. And when the next star comes around, y'all going to hop on the bandwagon once again, do the same thing. We've seen this a million times, so ain't nothing new. Now, trade stuff, nothing that I've heard is really changed. I understand that the Hornets may be opening up lines for conversations that maybe they weren't open to. I don't know to what extent, but from what I understand, they may be talking differently at this point, ready to make some type of decision on their franchise with their roster. Terry Rozier, players like that, they still want Hayward gone, I'd imagine. But as for me, I'm looking at the stuff that they're not offering, to be honest with you. If I'm looking at the Hornets, I'm looking at all the players that they have that are on rookie contracts, second-year players. All those guys that they use sparingly, those are the ones I actually want. Not necessarily the dudes they got on contract. Absolutely not. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. I'm cool. The players are fine, but their contracts are not. So we just gotta roll with the understanding of that and make sure that we support a good decision, not something that's just gonna make us a little bit better and ultimately give us contracts we don't like and players that we can't necessarily trade for more than what we traded them for. So that is definitely something we always want to keep in mind. So yeah, man, this is a great night. You know, in regards to just the night after the Lakers win a real, actual game that was close against a contender who's on an extreme winning streak. You know what I mean? That was a big part of it. The fact that the Memphis Grizzlies hadn't lost this year. And it looked like they weren't going to lose again for a while if we didn't beat them. So it's one of those things where it's like, yo, I think given the fact that the Memphis Grizzlies have such a loud and culture about themselves right now, the way they play, the way they their IG is set up. If anybody follows them on IG, they clown everybody they beat. They make sure they have something ready for them each and every time they beat them. And I was looking at them; they didn't have nothing for us. They showed John Morant walking over to a young child wearing a Memphis jersey and handed him his shoes and gave praise to their young star. That was it. They ain't had nothing for us. No smoke, no nothing. And so that's exactly what I wanted to see. The Memphis Grizzlies was going to give us all the smoke, all the clown energy. And it just wasn't possible because they did not win. And so if that doesn't make you feel good as a Laker fan, I don't know what does, given the fact that they talk more junk than anybody. Anybody. It's between them and the Suns, if you ask me. And I think Memphis got the Suns beat. So it is what it is, man. And my thing is, I'm just seeing a lot of guys, all over the league. Just a lot of chirping between eras. It's like as I said earlier with the video I made with Olajuwon and Joel. It's just a lot of that going on, and it's kind of a prelude to not a prelude, but it's like it piggybacks the conversation we've been having, which is that I think this era is going to be fighting all their lives for their respect in regards to the guys that came before them and the guys that are going to come after them. And so I just think this is the beginning for this era. Joel going back and forth with Olajuwon, that's not going to end, man. I just really want to lobby for changes in the rules. I really think that's the best possible thing a fan could ask for right now, is to just turn the difficulty up, please. Let guys play defense again. And you know what I mean? I would prefer that. I really would. So those are the thoughts, man. Nothing really new. I'm happy as a Laker fan for now. I know we got a tough stretch coming up. At some point in time, we got to go on another road trip that has us playing about 5 or 6 games on the road, including some New York, Brooklyn games. And the way Kyrie is playing, the way Juju's playing, it's going to be very tough to win games against those teams. But the good news is we got Anthony Davis coming back very soon. We understand that he's still working his way back, and it looks like next week will be his debut. And Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves should be rounding into form now as far as healing up from those injuries. They said 2 weeks so they would be reevaluated. I'd imagine those injuries should have healed up now, hopefully. Because it's been some time. We fought some hard games without those dudes, and now we need them to come back. We need Lonnie Walker's scoring, open court dunking ability, and we need Austin Reeves' offensive rebounding, his playmaking, his shooting, just his overall thinking, his poise. We need both of our young guys back. And, of course, if we get Anthony Davis even remotely back to the level he was playing at when he was dominating for about 3 or 4 games, it didn't last very long. But when he was doing what he was doing in the way that he did it, if we can get him back to that level again, I don't think we will lose many games at all, to be honest. And that's what's going to be really frustrating, I think, is just understanding how easy it is to actually accumulate wins when he's playing at his best versus how hard it is to get wins when he doesn't play at all. It's just, he takes up too much of what it is that we do, man. For him to be as injury prone as he is. And I know Jeanie is hesitant to trade him after seeing him play as well as he did. I know that the GMs and all these guys, they want to bring talent to us. But I just think the most safe thing to do is to recognize that we have one of the best players in the world who never plays basketball. So eventually you got to see the fruit in trying to get something for him before it becomes a situation where he actually literally never plays basketball. And he ends up retiring in your uniform early, which is my biggest fear. So I just don't. I don't want to see Anthony Davis scoring 60 and blocking 7 shots against us, playing for like the Heat or the Celtics, something like that. I don't want to see that. But I'll be comforted in believing and understanding that he's only going to do it for a couple of games and he's going to be sitting for them too. And that's what it is. It's what it is. You know what I mean? And God bless him if he can make it through the season, prove me wrong. I love being proved wrong, as you guys know. But I can't shake the notion that I just am certain that we're going to spend more time without him than we are with him. Because it's already been that way. 3 years, it's already been that way. And I'm happy we got that championship. I hope to get another one. even this season, that would be the greatest thing. I didn't think we could beat Memphis yesterday. We beat Memphis. I don't think we can win the championship. Maybe we can get it, but it's going to take him being 100% healthy at that highest level every single night for us to be that solid of a club. And it shouldn't be like that. It should not take one person to turn your entire situation around and crumble it down to the ground. Nah, that's because if it is that way, it's because your franchise has done something wrong. So that's the bottom line, man. I like AD as much as the next guy when he's healthy. He's not someone you trade. But because he's at that level and is never around, you got to turn him into a bunch of stuff, man. And so if the Lakers were to do anything like that at the trade deadline, if it wasn't a good trade, I'd be miserable. Don't get it twisted. I've been on record saying I don't want Rob to make that trade at all. So none of this is actually going to add up to anything other than the fact that I just wish the Lakers didn't have this dynamic. And I wish I had a front office that I could trust. Those are the two things I wish. Outside of my control completely, but it is what it is, man. I don't trust those guys. I don't trust AD's health. And so it's just a lot of waiting for the worst to happen, even when you're waiting for the best to come back. It's exactly what it is. So, yeah, man. That's the thought. As much as we enjoyed this Memphis win, it's like the pessimism looms. It looms because at the end of the day, we don't aim low. We're not a franchise that's happy with making the playoffs. We're not a fan base that's going to be cool with just making the third round even. You know what I mean? If we're not going after the championship, it is truly a waste of time for a Laker fan. And any Laker fan that's reaching lower, you're not cut like the ones that have been here this long. If you're reaching for lower, you're cool with us making the second round and a rah-rah cool and we just try again next year. If that's where your mindset is, believe me, buddy, you got a lot to learn about what we're doing. That's not how we roll. We are playing for championships every year. And if we're not doing that, then we need to be resetting our situation so that we can put ourselves in a position to do that once again. And that's all I'll ever accept, including right dang now. So that's what I got to say. Good win, Lakers, yesterday. Great. But until you get that foundation that I've been screaming about for the last year, I ain't never going to be comfortable as a fan. It's always going to be me waiting for the worst, waiting for the best to come back. So that's what it is, man. That's what I got to say. Great win against Memphis. Happy Ja didn't have a chance to really get us with no crap talking, none of that. He's going to have to try again. We got 2 more times to see this team. I don't know how soon. Hopefully not too soon. But by then, I would like to think that AD and all of our guys will be back and we'll have a much more reasonable opportunity to get rebounds and prevent them from getting second chance rebounds. Because I honestly don't know how we won that game. When you consider how bad we were bleeding from the boards, how much scoring they were able to get in the paint. The Memphis Grizzlies, you can't really kick their butt. Obviously, they're on a 11-game winning streak, so it's not like they've been prone to making any type of mistakes. You just got to chalk that up and say they just ran out of gas, I guess, maybe. I don't know. But if you want to isolate that basketball game and forget about every other game they've played, I would say they got some things they need to work on. Or they're going to lose more games like that going forward, no matter what it is behind them. Because you can't have that type of advantage, rebound the ball that well, have all that go on in your advantage and still manage not to win the game. From a Laker perspective, we love it. We're great. We're happy. We got nothing to do with their problems. But if I was looking at it from their perspective, I would say that was a red flag. That was a red flag. So it is what it is, man. They talk a lot of crap, but they ain't proved nothing. And as far as I can tell, as talented as they are, they got some things they need to really, really consider. Shooting discipline and all of that. If they don't mature, they could talk all they want. They just gonna find themselves crying at the end. So that's what I see. I'm not betting on Memphis to win the championship. As much talent as they have, that was a red flag. So it's the Kobe Minute, man. We're approaching it right now. Of course, it's a Laker video, so we always want to give a shout out to our guy. We miss him. We miss him a lot, man. We love to live in the present, but when we reflect on the past, we know what excellence is versus what we're dealing with. It is what it is. Our guys got to do better. So that's what I got to say, man. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching.